Let's walk on the wise path.
Have you ever wondered what it takes to become a truly virtuous person? Is it something you're born with, or can it be developed over time? In this video, we'll explore the wisdom of Aristotle, one of the greatest philosophers of all time, and his insights on how to develop a virtuous character. From cultivating habitual virtues to engaging in intellectual pursuits, Aristotle's teachings are as relevant today as they were over 2,000 years ago. So, let's dive in and discover the secrets to becoming a truly virtuous person. 1. Cultivate habitual virtues. Aristotle believed that true virtue was not a one-time act, but rather a habit that must be cultivated over time. He called these habits habitual virtues and believed that by practicing them, we could become more virtuous and ultimately lead happier, more fulfilling lives. So what are these habitual virtues that Aristotle spoke of? They are the small daily actions that we take, such as telling the truth, being kind to others, and practicing self-discipline. By making a habit of these actions, we are able to mold ourselves into better, more virtuous people. For example, if we make a habit of telling the truth, even in small matters, we are more likely to be honest in all aspects of our lives. If we make a habit of being kind to others, we are more likely to be compassionate and empathetic. And if we practice self-discipline in small matters, such as going to bed at a reasonable hour or sticking to a healthy diet, we are more likely to have self-control in all aspects of our life. The key to cultivating these habitual virtues is consistency. We must make a conscious effort to practice them every day, even when it may be difficult or inconvenient. But the rewards are great. By cultivating these virtues, we become better people and our lives become more fulfilling. So let's take Aristotle's wisdom to heart and start cultivating these habitual virtues in our daily life. Let's commit to telling the truth, being kind to others, practicing self-discipline, and all the other small actions that lead to a virtuous life. By doing so, we can become the best version of ourselves and lead truly fulfilling lives. 2. Seek the golden mean. Aristotle believed that the key to developing a virtuous character was to seek the golden mean. This means finding the right balance between two extremes in our actions and attitudes. For example, courage is a virtue, but if we are too reckless, we risk danger to ourselves and others. On the other hand, if we are too timid, we may miss out on opportunities to grow and learn. So, how do we find this golden mean? Aristotle believed that it was a matter of careful reflection and self-awareness. We must take the time to examine our actions and motivations and to evaluate whether they are in line with our values and goals. By doing so, we can identify areas where we may be too extreme in one direction or another and adjust our behavior accordingly. But the golden mean is not just about avoiding extremes. It is also about finding the right balance in our lives. For example, we may need to balance our work and personal lives or our social and solitary activities. By seeking the golden mean, we can find the right balance that allows us to lead fulfilling lives and become more virtuous people. The pursuit of the golden mean is not an easy path. It requires discipline, self-awareness, and a commitment to personal growth. But the rewards are great. By finding the right balance in our lives, we can become happier, more fulfilled, and more virtuous people. So let us take Aristotle's wisdom to heart and seek the golden mean in our lives. Let us strive to find the right balance in our actions and attitudes and to cultivate the virtues that will lead us to a more fulfilling life. By doing so, we can become the best version of ourselves and lead truly virtuous lives. 3. Imitate virtuous role models. Aristotle believed that one of the most effective ways to become more virtuous was to imitate virtuous role models. By observing and emulating people who embody the virtues we wish to cultivate, we can learn from their example and become more virtuous ourselves. This is why Aristotle believed that it was so important to surround ourselves with virtuous people and to seek out positive role models. But what exactly does it mean to imitate virtuous role models? First, we must identify the virtues that we wish to cultivate. This may involve examining our own lives and identifying areas where we feel we could improve, or it may involve seeking guidance from others, such as mentors or trusted friends. Once we have identified the virtues we wish to cultivate, we can begin to seek out role models who embody those virtues. These role models may be people we know personally, or they may be historical or fictional figures who exemplify the virtues we admire. The key to successfully imitating these role models is to observe their behavior closely and to identify the specific actions and attitudes that embody the virtues we wish to cultivate. For example, if we wish to cultivate the virtue of courage, we may look to a historical figure such as Martin Luther King Jr., or a fictional character such as Atticus Finch from To Kill a Mockingbird. By studying their actions and attitudes, we can learn how to cultivate courage in our own lives. Of course, it is important to remember that we should not simply copy our role models blindly. We must use our own judgment and discernment to determine which actions and attitudes are appropriate for our own lives and circumstances. But by observing and emulating virtuous role models, we can learn from their example and become more virtuous ourselves. Aristotle's wisdom on the importance of imitating virtuous role models is as relevant today as it was over 2,000 years ago. By identifying the virtues we wish to cultivate and seeking out role models who embody those virtues, we can learn from their example and become more virtuous ourselves. So, let us take Aristotle's advice to heart and surround ourselves with virtuous people and seek out positive role models. By doing so, we can become the best version of ourselves and lead truly fulfilling lives. 4. Practice self-examination. Aristotle believed that self-examination is a crucial aspect of developing a virtuous character. It involves taking the time to reflect on our actions and evaluate whether they are in line with our values and goals. By practicing self-examination, we can identify areas where we need to improve and take steps to become more virtuous. Self-examination is not always an easy process. It requires us to be honest with ourselves and to confront our flaws and weaknesses. But it is a necessary step if we want to become better people and lead more fulfilling lives. To practice self-examination, we must first take the time to reflect on our actions and attitudes. We must ask ourselves whether we are living up to our values and goals, and whether we are behaving in ways that are consistent with our beliefs. We must also be willing to accept criticism and feedback from others, and to use that feedback to improve ourselves. But self-examination is not just about identifying our flaws and weaknesses. It is also about recognizing our strengths and virtues. By reflecting on the good things we have done and the positive qualities we possess, we can build our self-confidence and become more resilient in the face of adversity. The key to practicing self-examination is to do so regularly. We must make it a habit to reflect on our actions and attitudes and to evaluate whether they are in line with our values and goals. By doing so, we can identify areas where we need to improve and take steps to become more virtuous. Self-examination is not always easy, but it is a necessary step if we want to become more virtuous people. By taking the time to reflect on our actions and attitudes, we can identify areas where we need to improve and take steps to become the best version of ourselves. So, let us take Aristotle's wisdom to heart and practice self-examination regularly. By doing so, we can become more virtuous and ultimately lead happier, more fulfilling lives. 5. Engage in intellectual pursuits. Aristotle believed that developing a virtuous character requires more than just cultivating habitual virtues and seeking the golden mean. He also believed that engaging in intellectual pursuits was essential for becoming a more virtuous and fulfilled person. By studying philosophy, literature, and other intellectual disciplines, we can broaden our minds and gain a deeper understanding of the world around us. This, in turn, can help us become more wise, compassionate, and virtuous people. But why is this so important? Why should we bother engaging in intellectual pursuits when there are so many other things to do in life? The answer lies in the fact that intellectual pursuits help us develop a more nuanced understanding of the world and the people in it. By studying philosophy, for example, we can learn about different ethical systems and ways of thinking about the world. This can help us become more empathetic and understanding of others as we gain a greater appreciation for the diversity of human thought and experience. Similarly, by studying literature, we can gain insight into the human condition and the myriad of emotions and experiences that make up our lives. This can help us become more compassionate and understanding of others as we gain a greater appreciation for the struggles and triumphs that we all face as human beings. Engaging in intellectual pursuits can also help us develop critical thinking skills and the ability to reason logically. This can be particularly useful when it comes to evaluating our own beliefs and values, as well as those of others. By developing these skills, we become better equipped to navigate the complexities of the world and make informed decisions about our lives. Of course, engaging in intellectual pursuits is not always easy. It requires discipline, focus, and a commitment to personal growth. But the rewards are great. By broadening our minds and developing a deeper understanding of the world, we become more virtuous and fulfilled people. So, let us take Aristotle's wisdom to heart and engage in intellectual pursuits regularly. Let us read books, attend lectures, and have discussions with others about the things that matter. By doing so, we can become the best version of ourselves and lead truly fulfilling lives. So there you have it, the 5 keys to developing a virtuous character according to Aristotle. By cultivating habitual virtues, seeking the golden mean, imitating virtuous role models, practicing self-examination, and engaging in intellectual pursuits, we can become more virtuous people and ultimately lead happier, more fulfilling lives. So go out there and start practicing these virtues today and see how your life changes for the better.